This is Jan Vermeulen from my broadband, talking about the Motorola Atrix for Let's Talk network. Let's delve into this bad boy right away. So first up, you've got a nice 4-inch screen. It's QHD resolution, so a nice high resolution. That's 540 by 960 pixels. And you've got on the bottom a standard bunch of Android buttons. These are capacitive, not physical. On the you've got a front-facing camera on here. It's not too good quality, but it's good enough for video calling. On the back, you've got a 5-megapixel camera with an LED flash that supports HD video, but only if you get the Android upgrade, which we don't have in South Africa yet. Currently, this phone is running Android 2.2 and not 2.3. On the back, you also have a fingerprint reader. More on that later when I unlock this phone, and you'll see what that does. Very cool. On the left side, you've got the micro USB connector and a micro HDMI connector. On the top, you've got a standard headphone jack, and on the right side, you've got a standard volume rocker. So when you unlock this phone, now this you've got to set up the first time you use it, obviously. You've got the option to either swipe to unlock and type in a password, or you can swipe the finger sensor on the back. And there it doesn't verify, and you can see what the problems with it can be, but it's no different than just typing your key code in incorrectly. Same kind of delay. But it's a neat, quick way to unlock your phone, provided that you swipe correctly. So the first thing about this device that we did was we put it through some benchmarks, and it actually fared fairly favorably against the likes of the HTC Sensation, a so-called superphone. So, but that's to be expected when you consider the internals of the device. What you've got here is an NVIDIA Tegra 2 processor. That's a gigahertz dual-core processor with NVIDIA graphics processing inside it. You've got a gig of RAM in this, 16 gigs internal storage with a micro SD card slot, supports up to 32 gigs, and definitely explains why we're seeing such good benchmarks. So, and benchmarks aside, you can feel that you're dealing with good hardware. The software is decently hardware accelerated. To get into a little bit about what they've bundled with this, now Motorola uses a skin for Android called Moto Blur. And what you're seeing on this front screen are some of the widgets. Here you've got a status update widget, my messaging widget, which can show not just emails, but text messages and stuff as well. And this is a social networking widget, which you can see some of the most recent tweets that came in. So when you tap on one of these, it brings up a little overlay, and you can swipe through the recent status updates to see what's happening. Now, these apps are okay, but they're just not quite as powerful as third-party apps and even as the official Twitter and Facebook apps that you can get. Another thing that Blur does is resizable widgets. Now, this is actually quite neat. Let me not do it on this screen. I wanted to show you something over on this screen. So here you can see some of their control widgets, which are actually quite cool. You can switch off your Wi-Fi, your GPS, all the standard stuff. Now, but there are missing ones, and when you install one from the App Store, it doesn't quite fit in with the rest of the aesthetic, which is a little sad. Now, as I said, you can resize the widgets, and I want to show you two things here at once. So I'm going to resize the widget, and then you see it bumps it off to the right and lets you know. That's neato, and it would have been far, far cooler if the widgets were cooler and if there were more of them. So Moto Blur is okay. The apps are okay. Having resizable widgets are cool. So that pretty much sums up how I found the device. It's slick. The default stuff on here isn't bad at all, and if you don't like it, you can always install stuff from the market, such as Launcher Pro. You can always root the guy and put your own stuff on there. All in all, a pretty good device. Now, the camera is actually also fairly good. Now, you can see when we're doing this now on the camera, there's a little bit of input lag, but to me, there is absolutely no input lag. So there's a little mascot, and flash goes off. And even in low light conditions, you get fairly good quality on this guy. So these were taken indoors in fairly high lighting conditions, but outside when it's dark, it doesn't do too badly. So the flash combined with a sensor, makes for a competent camera. It's nothing to write home about. It's not Nokia, it's not Carl Zeiss, but it's not bad. Now, the big thing about the Motorola Atrix is that it comes with what Motorola calls the WebTop application. So that's where these two connectors that are situated right next to one another comes in. You plug these onto a dock, and you can connect that either to a monitor or to, even it's got USB ports on it, so you can connect it to a keyboard and a mouse. It also has now I've mentioned the web top. That is basically a laptop connector for this guy. So that's something I unfortunately did not get to test. Motorola didn't give us one to play with. So that's something I'd advise you to investigate fully before deciding whether that's the reason you want to go for this phone. Even better is that in South Africa, when you buy a Motorola Atrix, it comes with a dock, and the dock comes with a micro HD cable. That's a pretty good deal, considering that this guy retails for around the same price as some high-end devices. In fact, sometimes it even comes in a little lower. So this guy is competing against the likes of the Samsung Galaxy S2, against the HTC Sensation, and where they're really trying to differentiate themselves is by adding in things like the dock. So all in all, not a bad phone. Definitely worth considering, even though in South Africa, Motorola is not really thought of when it comes to Android powerhouses. Motorola Atrix is definitely up there.